Good morning and happy Tuesday 10 at 10. I am your host, Richard Charpentier, and every Tuesday we take your questions and we take 10 minutes to answer most of the questions we can in 10 minutes. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, I make cake mixes and pancake mixes commercially. Now I want to explore export opportunities. How do I improve the shelf life of my mixes from 3 months to 1 year? Well, that's a great question. In order to do that, it's about understanding what are all the ingredients within your mix, what type of packaging equipment you have, because some packaging is lined up with a better uh, basically blockage for moisture or anything that could affect, because if you have cake mixes the baking powder could be affected. That's an issue. And also once you blend it, if you want to get 1 year, what is the shelf life of the ingredients that you're using? Some ingredients only have 6 months, some ingredients have 12 months. But if you're already sitting on your own inventory as you're blending and they already 3 months old because of your stock, and then you're trying to get 1 year, and that ingredient only in 1 year. So you have to do the math. It's about getting the right ingredients together, put them together, have the proper packaging, and test it. Is it shipped in container? How do you ship it, and how does the product really gets stored? So those are all the questions I would ask. It's doable. You have to worry about loss of functionality within some ingredients. You have to worry about oxidative rancidity, is when some of the fatty ingredients are, losing and getting like terpenes type of smell because it's changing. Uh, and also, from the end user consumer, how would they make a cake or a pancake a year later? But it's doable. It takes time, and understanding what you're doing. But good question. So now we're moving on to the next question. We have cookies. How do I prevent my cookies from getting soggy by moisture in humid climate? Any preservative for that? Well, if your cookies are getting really soggy, usually everybody's getting dry. So if your cookies are getting wet over time, then you have a problem. And whether or not, do you have the proper packaging? Do you have the proper formulation? And how do you store your cookies? So those are the things I would ask to you, because if you get a cookie that's going to start becoming really soggy over time, then I'm wondering how it's being stored. You didn't give us the time at which it gets soggy, because it could be, does it get soggy within a week? Does it get soggy within 2 days? Does it get soggy within a month? How does your product change? And in order to better answer, but yeah, cookies should not become like soft over time, unless do you put enzymes in there? What's going on? Then without knowing, that's all I can tell you. But good luck with your, trying to figure it out. Now we have a next question. Um, Flour tortillas. I have a one question, and I hope you can help me. We have die cutting machine for making tortillas. We have a problem with cracking tortillas. They are not stretching, and although they are cracking after 2 to 3 days, we pack it in plastic bag with MAP. And do you think the problem is with the tunnel oven electrical cooling system? Once you crack and when you do a die cut, meaning you're sheeting, and once you're sheeting one direction, which is what creates the potential cause. One, because as you're sheeting one direction, and you gluten network will sort of line up and it sort of cracks in the middle. That's why I prefer personally pressed tortillas. But in terms of whether or not your cooling system or your tunnel oven could create that, what's the moisture of the finished product? Because cracking comes from the loss of moisture as well. And how do you cool it, and for how long you cool it could also be a problem because you're removing moisture, so your tortillas are quickly losing their moisture. And what kind of packaging? You say MAP, but what is the moisture vapor transfer rate, the MVTR, or the specification of your packaging you're using? And all those are questions that I would ask, and try to understand how is this possible that within 2 days or 3 days you are there. If you have a moisture meter, measure the moisture, fresh to versus what happens in 2 days. Get some analytical data point where now you can understand what's going on with your tortillas, because with the information you're giving me, it seems a little odd that you're drying that quickly. And again, I would start again from my formulation. What's your formulation like? Do you have hydrocolloids? Do you have gum? Do you have things that will help retain moisture over time? But and what leavening system? A good question, and I hope you get to solve it. And if you need more help, you can reach consultant on the Bakerpedia website, where we help you with your problems on one-on-one. And the last question, uh, I have I work in a bakery that put hot bread and bun in a cooler to help cool the product down quicker. Does this harm the product in any way? Yes, yes, it does. And just think about it. And again, not knowing if you're cooling a product, and then you're selling it that day, okay, maybe that's the way it works. People eat it fresh and it's consumed within 24 hours. But if you're trying to get shelf life, what's going on? As you take a hot product and you put it in the cooler, as the product is hot, what is going on to a bread product or any product in that matter is moisture evaporates because the center is still hot, moisture is trying to release, and you have moisture, you're still losing moisture coming out of the oven. You lose moisture in the oven and you lose moisture after the oven. So once you cool it down, you're forcing the bread or the cakes to cool down rapidly, but forcing cold air onto the product. So often, what's going on, as I've seen it done before, is people cool it for a certain amount of time, but they do not check the internal temperature. Because now what's going on is your internal temperature might still be warm, but your surface to the touch feels normal. So you're thinking, great, I'm packaging. And what you'll do is when you put it into the packaging, and whether or not it's cold, you're creating condensation in your packaging. So you're creating extra moisture in your packaging, and you're making your product mold quicker. And depending on how long you're cooling it in the cooler, remember that the stilling process happens between 45 to 55 degrees when it's accelerated. It happens at other temperature, but that's when you accelerate your cooling, your stilling. So it does several things, not knowing your shelf life and packaging and everything. I would say yes, it will affect and harm your products over time. So it's best to cool ambient, but if you don't have, how other methods can you use to cool it rapidly? Because mold is the main issue, and by cooling it in a cooler, you opening your door to getting potential mold, and because then you have fans and how clean, and it's another area to control. But again, thank you very much for watching Tuesday 10 at 10. I hope you have a wonderful day to Tuesday, and happy baking, and enjoy the summer. Thank you.